Dear learners, welcome back to the last video of Module 2. Till this point, we have discussed about the three important orthodox Indian philosophies that are the Vedanta, Samkhya and Nyaya philosophy. We have also discussed these philosophies in terms of epistemology and metaphysics. Today, here in this video presentation, we will discuss about the educational implications of these theories or how these philosophies have impacted in the field of education. In the first module of this MOOC, you have learned about the relationship between philosophy and education. The relationship between education and philosophy is deeply interconnected as philosophy provides the foundational ideas and frameworks that shape educational practices and principles. Philosophy explores the fundamental questions about knowledge, reality, values, and ethics, and these concepts directly influence how education is understood and delivered. For example, philosophical theories about the nature of learning, the purpose of education, and the role of the teacher inform how curricula are designed, tailored, or what teaching methods are employed and how students are assessed or evaluated. Educational philosophies such as Vedanta, Samkhya, and Nyaya offer different views on how individuals learn, what should be taught, and the ultimate aim of education, whether it is to promote intellectual growth, prepare individuals for ultimate salvation, or so on. In this way, philosophy is not just an abstract discipline, but a practical guide to shaping educational system, policies and practices that reflect our values and vision for human development. The educational implication of any philosophy refers to how the principles and ideas of that philosophy can shape or influence teaching practice, learning environment, curriculum design, and educational goal. In other words, we can say that it explores the practical application of philosophical concepts to education. For example, if a philosophy emphasizes critical thinking, then the educational implication might involve fostering the inquiry-based learning, problem-solving skill, and hands-on experiences. Similarly, a philosophy rooted in social justice might lead to an educational approach focused on equity, inclusivity, and empowering marginalized voices. Ultimately, the educational implication is how philosophical beliefs can inform what is taught, how it is taught, and the broader goals of education. Let's discuss how the Indian orthodox philosophies had impacted our education system. Let's start with the Vedanta philosophy. Regarding the aims of education, Vedanta education says that it should focus on both the two aspects of human life, that are the practical and spiritual aspect. Development of these two aspects through education should lead towards the common goal of attainment of salvation. For this, education must aim at physical, mental, and moral development of the individual. Education must develop a healthy body and a healthy mind according to Vedanta Chittaradhi Nirodha. So, according to this philosophy, Chittaradhi refers to thought that clutter the mind or fluctuation of the mind. Education or knowledge must dispel doubts, dogmas, and darkness and lead one towards true knowledge about Brahmana as well as about the own self. Regarding curriculum, Vedanta believes that curriculum must include subjects of two categories: Paravidya, that is the spiritual learning, and Aparavidya, that is the worldly learning. So the Paravidya includes the study of four Vedas besides Vedangas, Upanishads, Puranas, Pitra, the rules for sacrifices for ancestors. Bhagovaya, man, that is the logic. Ekainya, ethics. Deva Vidya, etymology, and Brahmana Vidya, etc. And according to this philosophy, the Apara Vidya should include subjects like history, Ayurveda, economics, astrology, physics, geology, chemistry, science, Bhuta Vidya, Kalpa Vidya, and the Rashi, that are the science of number, etc. Regarding the method of teaching, Vedanta education advocated two important methods of teaching. First one is Mokik, or the oral method, and second one is Sintan, that is the method of thinking or reflection. In the oral method, students were to memorize the mantras or Vedic hymns. In teaching and learning, three stages of comprehension were emphasized. First is Sravana, hearing, Manana, meditation, and Nidhidhyasana, that is the realization and experience. Other physiologically sound methods such as question answer and illustration were also encouraged at that time in a Vedic education system. Of course, self-study was another important method of Vedic education. Then regarding discipline, Vedantic education laid down strict rules for discipline for students as well as for the teachers and wanted them to strictly adhere to such rules. Self-discipline of body and mind considered very important. Observation of Brahmacharya or celibacy was compulsory for all the students at that time. Now let's know what was the place of teacher in Vedic education or what this philosophy believed in terms of teacher. The teacher or the guru was the spiritual and educational parent of the pupil. He was extremely influential in the life and education of his pupil. He had two major jobs. First one is to prepare the pupil for practical life and to make him acquire spirituality. So among these, the second was the main and the most important job of teacher. The teacher was the center of education and no education could be imagined without him like now. Now, let's discuss the educational implication of Samkhya philosophy. So like Vedanta philosophy, Samkhya philosophy has also great significance for present-day education. Samkhya psychologically views that knowledge leads to the modification of buddhi, also reflect modern learning theories that explain education as the modification of behavior. Regarding the meaning of education, Samkhya philosophy believes that an action or karma is already inherent in a cause. Modern educational theories also believe that the development of man is already inherent in him. Education is the process of unfolding the potentialities of man to its fullest development. According to Samkhya philosophy, true education is that which helps one to differentiate between Prakriti and Purusha, that is the matter and spirit, which is the core concept of this Samkhya philosophy. Regarding the aims of education, it believes that modern education aims at realizing the best self of the individual that lies within him and thus leading him towards perfection. According to Samkhya, the supreme aim of life as well as of education is the attainment of perfection of Purusha through discrimination leading to salvation. This salvation may be attained by realizing the distinction between Prakriti and Purusha, that are the matter and spirit. Therefore, education according to Samkhya philosophy should aim at developing man in such a way that he may distinguish between matter and spirit and may attain freedom from the miseries of life. Regarding the curriculum, Samkhya philosophy attaches importance on developing of both physical and spiritual aspects. Hence, the curriculum must consist of knowledge and essence of matter as well as the soul. According to this philosophy, the curriculum should be designed according to the developmental stages of children, with a focus on sense training in the early childhood to enhance the senses, mind, ego, and intelligence. As children grow, subjects like language, literature, social science, and mathematics should be introduced to further develop their mind and the intellect. Again, during adolescence, when the ego, the ahankara, and the decision-making abilities mature, subjects like geometry and logic should be prioritized. In the youth stage, education should include theology, philosophy, logic, physiology, and Ayurveda. So Samkhya emphasized the study of natural sciences to help learners understand the distinction between Purusha, that is the soul, and Prakriti, that is the nature. While the arts, physical activities, and yoga are also essential to foster a well-rounded, healthy, and focused individual. Yoga, in particular, is seen as crucial for understanding the true nature of the soul and achieving spiritual liberation. Samkhya philosophy said in terms of method of teaching that the instrument for acquiring knowledge into external and internal categories. External instruments include the sense organs and the organs of work, while the internal instrument consists of manas, that the mind, ahankara, ego, mahat, intelligence, and purusha, that is the soul. For knowledge acquisition, Samkhya emphasized the conjunction of prakriti and purusha. It identifies three sources of knowledge: pratyaksha, direct perception; anumana, inference; and sabda, testimony, particularly the Vedas. Based on these sources, Samkhya prescribed method such as direct observation, logical reasoning, and the study of authoritative text. So the educational approach recommended by Samkhya in philosophy includes experiential learning through sensory involvement, activity-based learning, project, practical work, and the use of mind and the reason to validate theories, all aim at fostering a holistic understanding of the world. Now, NAP has also emphasized on experiential learning, hands-on learning, activity-based learning. So we can say that it has a root of Samkhya philosophy. Then regarding the discipline, Samkhya philosophy recommends strict control or discipline of body and mind. However, discipline according to Samkhya should be internal and self-imposed rather than external or imposed by the authority. Like yoga, Samkhya philosophy also recommends strict control of mind, words, and deeds. In order to enforce such control, they recommend following 5 vows. First one is truth, non-violence, anti-theft, no storage of things, and celibacy. Moreover, they prescribe 5 rules to follow. They are sanitation, satisfaction, tenacity, self-study, and worship. Samkhya believes that without following discipline, human cannot make his body healthy and mind, ego and intelligence neat, and hence cannot gain the true knowledge. So this is about the method of teaching or discipline as per Samkhya philosophy. Now what it says about the place of teacher. Samkhya philosophy views the teacher as an authority, an apta, human being. The teacher must be an expert in the subject he teaches. He must realize difference between Prakriti and Purusha. The teacher must have clear knowledge about the sources of knowledge. The teacher should be a facilitator or helper of the learner in the process of development of his innate potentiality. And Samkhya also wants the teacher to be a man of discipline. So in this way, Vedanta and Samkhya philosophies have been significantly influencing the education system. Now let's talk about Nyaya philosophy in terms of its educational implication. So according to Nyaya philosophy, the aim of education should be the achievement of true knowledge of the self. This true knowledge of the self alone can lead to the achievement of highest goal, that is the mukti. Nyaya philosophy believes that education should aim at the removal of ignorance, which is the root of all defects. Individuals may realize their true self through meditation and contemplation only when they get rid of their defects. Hence, education must aim at removing the defects as raga, desire, desa, hatred, moha, or defective outlook. In terms of curriculum, it said that in order to achieve the aim of mukti through self-realization, the study of scriptures, continuous study of the philosophy, and discussion with person learned in philosophy should be made. It believes that mukti can be attained by direct perception or knowledge of ultimate realities of self and the universe. These ultimate realities include the padartha, which are termed as drabya, substance, guna, qualities, karma, action or motion, samanya, ganas, vishesha, species, sambhava, relation, and the abhava, that is the negation. So all these categories deal with the means to understand the universe and hence form the curriculum recommended by Nyaya philosophy. Regarding the method of teaching, it primarily focused on the theory of knowledge, identified four valid means that are the pramana for acquiring knowledge. First is pratyaksha, that is the perception. Second is inference, anumana. Third is analogy, upamana, and testimony from reliable sources, avidya. It also recognizes errors in knowledge acquisition such as samanya, doubt or inconsistency, and vipravaya, constraints or mistake, which can be addressed through systematic testing, that is the ritarka. Nyaya emphasizes that true knowledge is attained through meditation, which involves withdrawing the mind from the senses, focusing it through concentration, connecting with the self, and striving for truth. However, meditation can be hindered by physical and moral obstacles, which can be overcome through the practice of yoga. Like Samkhya and yoga, Nyaya philosophy also recommended strict discipline of the body and the mind. In order to achieve success in meditation and complementation, Nyaya advocates practice of yoga. Yama, restraint, niyama, observation, and other prescribed methods of internal discipline such as penance, breath regulation, pranayam, abstraction, pratyahara, contemplation, dhyana, and concentration, dharana, are important means of discipline according to Nyaya philosophy. Regarding the role of teacher, like Samkhya, Nyaya philosophy also accepts the teacher as an authority. The teacher must lead students along with the path of mukti and liberation. The teacher must help students to achieve true knowledge about oneself. The teacher is a helper in the process of acquiring knowledge about the different categories of realities. Thus, after making detailed discussion on these three philosophies, we can conclude this module by declaring that Vedanta emphasizes the realization of the self, that is the Atma, and the ultimate reality Brahman. It highlights the importance of inner knowledge, self-awareness, and spiritual growth. In education, Vedanta encourages self-reflection, meditation, and moral development, aiming to help students attain the spiritual liberation, that is the moksha, through the pursuit of truth. Samkhya again divides knowledge acquisition into external and internal instruments and emphasizes the development of the mind, ego, and intelligence alongside the senses. Its educational implications suggest a stage-wise approach to learning, where yoga plays a very important role in understanding the soul and achieving the spiritual clarity. Again, Nyaya focuses on valid knowledge acquisition through perception, inference, analogy, and testimony. It stresses reasoning, logical thinking, and error identification. The educational approach, according to Nyaya, includes systematic inquiry, reasoning, and problem solving to correct inconsistencies in understanding. Meditation is seen as a means to attain true knowledge in the Nyaya philosophy. Finally, we can realize that while Vedanta focuses on spiritual knowledge and self-realization, Samkhya emphasizes a holistic, developmental approach to learning or education. And Nyaya stresses on reasoning, logical thinking, and correction of errors in the pursuit of valid knowledge. So each philosophy shapes a curriculum that balances intellectual, moral, and spiritual growth in its own way. Hope this module is helpful for you to go into the depth of this three Indian Orthodox philosophy. Thank you very much. Keep learning and watching to familiar with more philosophical school of thought. Thank you.